Hi, welcome to another edition of Black Money Matters. I'm Dr. Karen Weaver, and I'm here again with my co-host, Jamaica Patrick.
Hello.
How are you, Jamaica?
Good, I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing just great. It's beautiful weather,
It is.
and we have a special guest
Yes,
today
we
on
do.
Black
Oh,
Money
Lord.
Matters.
Yes, we do.
Pastor Freelon Threlkeld is with us
Amen.
today.
Good to be here,
Thank you.
Sister Weaver. I'm going to say it mayor, but praise the Lord anyhow.
That's right.
It's
That's
just
right.
a blessing to be here and to be in the presence of two lovely young ladies. And
Thank you.
I invited my wife to come with me just in case, you know. But praise the Lord. Hey, she decided
She can
not
sing
to come.
for us, that's for sure. She can
Oh,
sing
she's
for us, that's
always
right. She's
ready.
a songbird.
But it's just good to be here, Sister Weaver.
Well, you know what?
Amen.
We really wanted to have you here today because last week we did our premiere episode. And I remember, Jamaica, you were talking some about Seneca Park, which is now Central Park in New York
Oh,
City. And then we were talking about Black Wall Street.
Up in Tulsa.
So-
And I,
Oklahoma.
I said, well, wait a minute, what about St. John Street right here in Flint?
Right here.
You know, it was our Black Wall Street, and we have a lot of history. And,
Yes.
you know, we were having that conversation last
Mm-hmm.
week, and I remember when I was talking, I said, well, I got a lot of my history from, we like to call him Mr. Historian.
So kind.
Mr.
so kind.
Historian.
So kind.
And
Thank you.
you were telling me a lot
Mm-hmm.
about St. John Street, and we were talking about the businesses and everything that was going on. And so we wanted to spend a little time with you, Pastor Threlkeld, just to
Mhm.
talk about some of
Well-
the history and what it was like, because it was, you know, it was a good time.
Right, it was like a black mecca of the community.
Well, it was, and geographically, the north end of Flint was divided into two areas. The north side, which was west of the railroad tracks. If you notice, most black communities were located around railroad tracks, and we that lived on the north side, meaning Lee Street, industrial, and to Saginaw Street was known as the north side of cross the track. And really the St. John area to us was known as cross the track, where you live. Mississippi Street, cross the track, you know. New Jersey, cross the track. Well, what school did you go to? Fairview, cross the track. Amen. Where did you roller skate? Roller derby, roller bowl, we call it the dust bowl, because after you roller skated so far or so long, you got pretty dusty. But that area was very popular due to the fact that Buick was growing. And as Buick plant began to grow, the neighborhood began to grow by the migration of black people from the south in various areas to work in the foundry of the Buick.
Well, you know, and when we were talking last week, I was saying that was how my mother ended up here.
Ooh.
Her parents came from Mississippi.
Watch out.
And my grandmother was pregnant with
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
And my grandfather was working at where you just said.
Okay. Now, due to the housing situation in Flint and the segregation that was going on in this area, housing was limited, so people of color could only live in a certain area. And cross the track, St. John area was that area to grow with the Buick. As the Buick grew, the foundry grew. There's a story told that when they built the foundry at Buick, they built 3 tents and migrated black people at that time to have a tent to live in, a tent to play in, and a tent to go to church in. So that was the early housing of the population on the St. John area. Now the previous population was populated with Polish people, Lebanons, and foreigners. But as blacks began to migrate in the 40s and the 50s, we hit Flint in 1953 is when I crossed St. John Street. At that particular time, that was the main drag. It was like a Saginaw Street in that area, and like you say, heavily populated with community businesses. Now, a lot of blacks may not own the businesses, but they operated the business in that area. And one of the most popular stores was known as Joe Hemmerhoff, the Chitlin Man. Oh, Chitlin King. Oh, he had more pork than that we could count, you know. But, and then you had other business also. We had a theater named the Columbia Theater, and that was operated by blacks but owned by other ethnic groups. Also in that area, we had a drugstore. Now, that was back in the day before we called them pharmacies.
Right.
There was a drugstore, and it was owned by one of our judges' family, Sister Mama Peps. They call her Old Lady Peps, excuse me. But they call her Old Lady Peps. She was a judge downtown, but her family owned that drugstore. And then we had hardware stores. We had Chicken Shack, which was owned by one of our prominent families in the community. Then we had also social life.
That's what I was going to say. You told me about some social clubs.
We had what they call the R&G Club.
Say that one again.
R&G.
R&G.
That meant Royal Garden.
Okay.
That's an after-night joint. Because of segregation, black people could not socialize downtown at the IMA, which was owned by the Industrial Mutual Association.
Okay.
The Caucasian will have their ball dances begin at 7 p.m. and they'll dance till midnight. And then after midnight, blacks would come in and have their social time. But in the meantime, in between time, we had clubs all over that area, St. John area and the industrial area, where blacks could socialize. Also, some of our leading churches were organized across the track. Macedonia
I was going to say, yeah,
was
tell us some of them.
founded on Hickory Street, and that was right around the corner from the Hut. That was on the corner of State and St. John, in Hickory rather, Hickory and St. John area. And also you had the Callaway Cleaners. Oh man, you had the record shops on New Jersey Street. We also had another little greasy spoon called Chicken Shack.
Okay.
That's where we could get our French fries and shrimps. We called them scrimps back then, but we could go by and get a nice hamburger sandwich, chicken sandwich, fish sandwich, sandwich. That's what we call them, sandwich.
But everything was there because
Yes, self-centered. Because of segregation, we could not go downtown. So everything was in our neighborhood, from Stewart Street to Campbell Street or St. John Street going south, just past Green Funeral. Yeah, the
We talked about,
mortuary science was started in that area. I believe one of the first black funeral homes over there was Chandler Funeral Home. Then Miss Butler took over. Miss Butler took over. Then the Green's home, funeral home, was on the south end of St. John Street. And then we had nightlife business over there too. Miss Lulu, Sister Lulu's place.
But you call it nightlife business?
Nightlife.
That's right.
Yes, nightlife. And Michigan Avenue, which was a block west of St. John Street.
Did Michigan Avenue get destroyed? Where?
Michigan Avenue is the coming west from St. John Street on Lee Street, if you remember. Come west is the next block west of St. John Street. And on the corner of St. John and Lee Street, it was another little restaurant called the Red Dog.
Okay.
Yeah, you
We
can
talking
get
all kinds of
Oh,
restaurants.
we had we had Mama
business.
Now you
Mama
told me that you
place.
said gambling, everything.
Oh, we had it. That's why I said anything
That was the
you
nightlife
needed. Your socialization, spiritualization, crap gamealization, auto plants, auto body plants.
Was all in that
We
area.
had tree mechanics. Oh, we had anything, your service station, whatever you needed. We call them filling stations back in those days. And anything you needed to survive as a black person. And then the Gaines family one of the first barbers
Okay.
in that area. Had a barber shop and the pawn shops. We had those, and we had because see the early blacks would cut hair on Saturdays. They would actually shut down their homes, and each room would have a barber in it. You went to a
Okay.
house before you went to a
To a
barber
barber
shop, and doing your lady's hair was done on the back porches.
Okay.
See the difference in the south side and the north side of St. John Street area, the homes had back porches on the north side. The homes on the south side had sun porches
Okay.
where they go out and sit down and socialize. But the most homes were built on the north side had a front door, front porch, and you sat on a Saturday, cooling, watch the neighborhood. That's something we don't do very much, is watch our neighborhood.
Well, speaking of that, because I was, last week we were talking, and I was talking about my dad. My grandparents migrated from the South, so that my granddad can work in the Buick factory as well.
Oh, Buick, yes.
And my dad talked about the neighborhoods, and he grew up on Fairfax, and he talked about playing football out there, and they would play.
You had a
against the
funny
kids.
story about
Yes,
that too,
he-
Jamaica.
So he was talking about, they would play on Saturdays, and it would be the Fairfax kids and the
Street.
St. John
Right.
Street kids, and they would play for bragging rights and stuff. And he said at first they put all this sand out and said all this dirt out, and so the kids got together and they made the football field with the dirt, and somebody gave them some, what do you call those things you kick the ball in?
The
Gold.
Goals
Goalposts.
and goalposts, and so they would play, and then one day they got up to go out and play, and they were digging up the dirt because they were creating the highway, and they were they were kids, they were upset because
Urban
what
renewal.
happened to
Urban
yeah.
renewal.
Absolutely.
Urban renewal.
So yeah, because 475 came through,
Right.
and you were talking to me about that.
Yes,
because you
ma'am.
said there were some other plans.
Yes,
and,
yes,
And I mean, we
the
wanted
great,
to talk
the
about
great
it.
white fathers of the city of Flint, and urban renewal was being initiated in a lot of your black communities because things were changing, and they were trying to bring this expressway down from the south to the north to get to I-75. And but the properties in that area, and the planners, the father planners originally, and I was trying to find the documentation to this, but the barber shop stated that the original 475 coming from Fifth Avenue going north would be on the east side be on the west side of St. John Street, meaning that would come down the industrial side. The industrial coming from the south going north. But in the industrial side of the north side consisted of major churches between Industrial and North Street. Major churches. So
So something changed.
yes, it changed because the major churches in that area was asking a very high price for their properties. Canaan was one of those churches. Metropolitan Baptist was one of those churches. Antioch was one of those churches. Several other, Vernon Chapel was in there. Amen. At corner North Street
Right.
in
I was
Addison.
going to say we were on Addison and North.
Other personal schools, Parkland School,
Parkland School.
was in that area
That's
between on North
On North
Street,
Street.
and going all the way up, going south. And Oak Park, a recreational facility, was in that area, in the path of all that. The CIO Hall, which is now the social club down on Leaf and North Street.
So what did they do?
Well, they counted the monies and they redesigned. So that's when the population east of Industrial, the St. John Street area, became the target.
Where people live.
They
work,
began to
and play.
cut off.
Where our
Yes,
businesses
they
were.
begin not to maintain doing what they're doing now. They
was
begin
gonna
to not take care of it. They begin to cut off certain privileges and so forth. They began to close the school. Fairview School
Fairview,
was
right.
one of the schools to be closed. Roosevelt School was on the extreme north end. Eventually it was closed. The businesses began to close. People began to migrate to other parts of the city. And as the economy began to grow, they seeked better housing. But we still, as black people, were not allowed to live west of Saginaw Street.
So the businesses went away.
Business, okay,
So-
look out. Here come downtown, Genesee Valley, and all
Right, but
that
I have
other
a
stuff.
question because, so they come through, they destroy our business
Well,
area.
real appropriate, yeah.
You know, whatever,
Yeah.
you destroy. And did people get paid?
Well, that I could not tell you, but I'm quite sure the property owners, business received quite a bit for their property. Now, personally, like I say, you would have to check this out. This was from the barber shop, and you would have to check this out. But just talking to the people and observing and seeing what happened. The reason I speak so thoroughly about that is I was a member of Metropolitan
Okay.
Baptist Church, which was 3939 Industrial, and right on the corner of Myrtle Street. Now they have changed their address to 930 East Myrtle.
Right.
But originally Metropolitan address by the poster was 3939 Industrial. And that name didn't set in a lot of people's crow real good, so they changed it to Myrtle Street, 930 East Myrtle. So the deacon board at that time, Dr. Sidney Edwards, was the pastor of Metropolitan Baptist Church. So knowing that we're in the path of this new construction coming through, we seek to purchase properties up on Detroit Street near Carpenter Road, and where it's a school sitting there now. It's closed, but there's a school sitting there, and Pastor Burkett's church is across the street. But anyway, we began to seek property. But anyway, that's why we were getting ready to move, because we were thinking that the expressway was coming down through there. But there was a change in the plan. They ran it on that would be the east side of, and then Buick was in there.
So
See, there's a lot of expensive stuff going in there.
Yeah, a lot of big fish.
Yeah, the big fish, and the Buick facility from Stewart Street went all the way down to Hamilton Street. See? So they was quite a expensive project. So they decided to deteriorate that area, St. John Street, old area, and the people began to move out. Now in that area over there was a center called the St. John Center. Now that center still sits there.
Where is it?
That center, if you take James P. Cole and go north of Lee Street, and you get about the third block in, look to your left, and you can see the old St. John Center still sitting there to your left, going north on James P. Cole towards Stewart.
But so after that happened,
Yes.
we never really had an area like that again.
No,
That
no.
was where
Nothing
you
on the
saw
north
black
end.
economic power
Right.
and
That's
business
why-
and opportunity.
The whole intention was to break up. That was the start of the deteriorating of the north end by the closing Parkland School. I can remember when
Because when they closed Fairview, because that was where my mother started,
well,
and then she was over at Parkland.
okay, then they closed Parkland. And when you want to start a community to begin to deteriorate,
Close the school.
you shut off the churches, you shut off privileges, you begin the education facility. Burston Field House is still surviving.
But you remember when Burston had a pool?
Yes, we used to swim in. Matter of fact, we used
At
to
first,
sneak in it.
I was going to say because you couldn't swim in it at first.
No,
now I know that.
There were a lot of restrictions, segregated. That's why I
Exactly.
tell our young people, especially our young leaders that are growing up, especially our young pastors in this city and residents of the city of Flint, Flint is still a segregated city. Flint is still a segregated city, and even back in the 50s, on the corner of Dewey Street, just south of Burston Field House, before you get to Mr. Jared's social club there, it used to be a restaurant sit on that corner called the PX. And they had rotisseries and everything, but black people could not eat right there on the corner of Dewey and Saginaw.
And
you couldn't eat in your own community.
I think what a lot of young people need to understand about that is when we hear about segregation and that, people think it was so long ago. But my parents were born, but not even, grandparents aside, I'm talking about my parents who are still at home, right now. And they, couldn't swim at Burston and eat at some of these places.
Right.
They were
That's
kids.
Right.
And if we went to Emerson Junior High, I was in the 7th grade, 1957 at Emerson Junior High. And those teachers would all come to the east side of the building and stand in the window and make sure that all us little black children would go home. They would peck on the window. We would play hopscotch and leapfrog, having a good time on the schoolyard. Go home, and they would point east. Go back across Saginaw Street where you belong.
But that's why we're having these conversations, and that's why we're talking about Black Money Matters, and why economic empowerment and opportunity is so crucial.
But one thing about us coming up in a segregated atmosphere, it created incentive for us to work together.
Right.
See, we had everything in our neighborhood. I joke with Brother Robinson about the number man. The number man, he was just as important as the pastor, the preacher.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Right, yeah. How so? Because right now there are a lot of times that's the person that gets demonized. They get talked about, but they saved a lot of us.
The money,
they helped us out.
Right, the money stayed in the community.
Exactly.
You see, because our community was so tight that if you did play the numbers and you hit, we knew it was celebration time. You gonna give a party, so we all gonna be over there to share. We sat on the front porch. We police one another.
Right.
We knew not to pick those Chinese cherries from Sister Johnson Street, because she would get on you. And matter of fact, if you saw anybody doing wrong in the community, it beat you home.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like, let me hurry up and go tell on myself.
Yeah, we've gotten away. Desegregation gave a lot of us that opportunity to spread out and to do whatever I want to do, and we've lost that helping one another, black money, helping one another in our community. I respect desegregation. I think it's good, but I think we're losing out because it gives us so many opportunities. You ever been to the store?
And then we're not helping each other.
You ever been to the store to pick out a box of cereal now? Conglomeration.
There's
Cookies,
so much to pick.
so many to
I
choose
know.
from.
Sometimes
But-
you just say,
But back in the day, Daddy
but-
said Kellogg cornflakes on the table. That was it. If you didn't like it, shame on you. And the community, we were more sensitive to one another during the segregation time. But at the same time, when desegregation set in, it did open us up.
So when you talk about the community working together and all the businesses being right there in the community, and the number man playing a role in helping people, and those different things, so how do you think why do you think that works so well?
Well, because we were limited. We couldn't go. We have two. You ever heard of Ottawa, Baldwin, Michigan?
oh yeah.
You ever heard of Shea Lake, Mayville, Michigan? All right. Though we were in classes, when we came from the South, migrated. Some of us were living in the basement of our parents' home or wherever we could live. I know a couple moved to Flint. They lived at the church, Metropolitan Baptist Church. They paid their rent by cleaning up the church. and stoking the ashes out until they got on their feet economically, and they moved. They bought a nice home, and then eventually they moved to the south side on Whittlesey Street, Whittlesey, which was known as Sugar Hill
Right.
at that time. So things were based on your economic condition. So if you could get better housing, you improved. But in the meantime, in between time, it was people coming to Flint. In my family, they stayed at our place
Right.
until they
We
got a
always had
job.
someone living at our home.
The late Dr.
Always.
A.J. Pointer told me a story that he left Blytheville, Arkansas, with a buddy of his who cashed his check from the Buick Foundry and drove all the way down to Blytheville, Arkansas. But in the meantime, he cashed his check. He got 90 singles. It was a $100 check. 90 singles and a $10 bill. And he wrapped a $10 bill around the 90 singles, and he flashed it in front of Reverend Pointer. And Reverend Pointer said, "You make that kind of money up there?" Now, Reverend Pointer was picking 3 rolls of cotton that Friday. He said, "Yeah, I make this every week." He said, "When you leaving, coming to Flint?" He said, "I'm leaving Sunday morning."
He said, I'm going with you.
That's right. Reverend Pointer said, 1958, he came to Flint, and the boy bragged all the way to Flint. "I live in a big house. I got a big house." Reverend Pointer was thinking a big mansion, you know. But when he got there, it was a big house. It was an apartment building with one room.
With one, you know.
One
what I
bed.
say now, you know.
Him and his
But-
pregnant wife slept in that one bed. But Monday morning, he got up and went to Buick and got hired. Amen.
But you know what, it was just
Overnight.
interesting because you were talking about the numbers.
Yeah.
And now, that's been taken from us.
Yes,
That's
there
been taken
again.
from us.
State.
Here
break-
comes the state.
That's right. They taking away
They-
the things
that
that's
we-
self-sufficient.
Exactly.
But we need to get back to that
We need to get
and share with one another, go into businesses, develop business in our community. It's no harm in having a business in your community. We are starting a co-op store, 5402
Right.
Cryo Road, a community project. We don't really have to go outside to shop, you know,
Right,
drive
right.
way out there on, what is that?
Wherever
Yeah,
it
break
is.
Walmart,
Right.
but we can have our own community. Like I say, Joe Hemmerhop, the Chitley King, he supplied everybody. And Broadway on the North on North Street. And here's another thing about those business: if you didn't have the money, they kept it on the books for you. Those Lebanons, those old foreigners in business knew that you would pay them. They had trust. You put it on the bill, and when you got your paycheck, you came and paid your bill
So you
at
can
that
Right.
feed
store.
your family.
Right.
Yeah.
all week.
Well, I
They
mean,
loved you. They took care of you. But that type of love for one another in business now is gone. You know.
and we don't have access. We don't have access. I mean, it's just funny because you're talking about some of those things, and we're still struggling to have access to so many opportunities that others have access
That's
to,
right.
and to get the information and really being educated around some of those kinds of issues. Whether we're talking about business, small business, whether we're talking about being able to get loans
Yes.
and mortgages from banks to not just buy a home, but to start those businesses.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
we've talked about how this, goes with healthcare, education, all of these
Everything.
things.
We can do it.
Economics is tied to
Yes.
it. And we need to be about our business. We
We
said
do.
this last week. That's what,
We
and
need to come back together, and like you said, the co-op store,
Right.
things that are ours that we can help people get.
Set up loan institutions.
exactly.
We have you ever I've thought about this, so many black churches in our community, and each one of our black churches have a savings account at some particular bank. And if we put our monies together, this was tried years ago. The late Dr. Granville Smith
Oh.
tried to put us together, and because there's power in money.
Okay, we're going to stop right
Right.
on that note because
Okay.
there is power in money, and that's what we want people to know.
Yes, ma'am.
We wanted to get the history, some of the history of St. John's
Well,
Street. We thank you for bringing that,
I
and you
give-
talked about
thank you.
business. So we're going to stop because we have another guest.
All right.
Because we want to talk about a black business directory that's being put together.
Amen.
So we're going to thank you
Well, thank
for
you,
that.
For coming.
Sister Weaver
We
and
appreciate
Sister
you.
Jamaica.
Yes,
that's
Jamaica,
right.
bless y'all.
And we'll
Uh,
take a quick break.
all
When we
right.
return, we will have DeJuan Robinson,
Oh,
the
great fella.
president of the Flint Black Lives Matter.
Watch out now. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. All right.
Welcome back to Black Money Matters. We are your hosts. I'm Jamaica Patrick, and this is Dr. Karen Weaver. And we have with us today for this half of our show, our guest, who is the president of the Flint chapter of Black Lives Matter, Mr. DeJuan Robinson. Thank you for coming.
No See, problem, and I'm so used to, hi, Dewan. I'm used to calling him Mr. Juneteenth. I mean, he answers to a lot because he's been really, really involved. So that's a good thing.
No, I appreciate even being involved.
That's a good thing, right?
We appreciate you. You know, you've been bringing so much to our community. On Saturday, we heard Dr. Weaver, and I'm so used to calling you Mayor. We heard Dr. Weaver.
Still call him Mayor.
Right. We heard her talk about, you know, that some people feel like they've given us Juneteenth as a result of everything, of the civil upheaval that's been going on in our nation.
Right.
But we know here in the city of Flint that we've had Juneteenth, and you've been bringing us the Juneteenth celebrations and things like that for years. And so, you know, this isn't something that's new to us.
How do you give something what they already have?
Right.
I know, right? And definitely, big shout out to Mrs. E.
That's right.
Who
Absolutely.
actually introduced to Juneteenth.
Absolutely.
She's been doing it over 30 plus years.
Yes.
So I have been a part of it for the past 6 years. So the thing is, we have our traditions and our heritage, things that we have already been practicing, things that's already here in effect. And now it's just coming to the world, and they're just being exposed.
Exactly. And I mean, really, that was why we had the first half of the show on Black Money Matters, to talk some about the history.
Yes,
because when we were talking about Black Wall Street and Seneca Park, we said we had a history, a rich history right here in the city of Flint. And as far as blacks and money and economic opportunity and being able to do different things and have different things. And so it's something that we really, you know, we've been talking about the criminal justice system and people getting their knees off our neck. And what we're saying is get your knee off our neck on every other area. You know, and economics is huge. And if you can keep us away from the money, you know, it really, it keeps us having disparities.
Yeah, and I agree with you. You know, the thing is, you know, we talk about right now the police reform because that's just a hot thing. That's just kind of how everything
It's life and death.
But
literally.
well,
right. But more importantly, it's like finances.
Finances.
We're talking about, you know, black wealth and having our own economic development, where we are being able to be in position to take care of our families, give back to our community, do start up entrepreneurial businesses for other small businesses. It actually creates a whole mecca for us, and that's where we want to get back to.
And maybe if that were going on, we wouldn't be 40% of the deaths when we look at coronavirus, because it also impacts healthcare and access to healthcare and insurance.
People don't understand. Finances affects all facets of life. So if you have a very limited supply of money, then you have limited access to healthcare.
Right.
Or food, like Pastor Threlkel was talking about, wanting to do this co-op. And I think because people were so interested in what we had talked about at St. John's last week, we wanted to have Pastor Threlkel here to talk some more about it. But we were talking about business.
We were.
Right.
And I think you have an interesting project going on. And so I want you to tell us about it and how that, you know, how you decided to do this.
Yeah, just basically taking the historical value of even Flint and St. John. And I was listening to Reverend Threlkel, and he definitely laid it down. Black people are the ones who installed co-op into American history, right? So when you talk about the things that Reverend Threlkel was saying about all these different economic drivers we had in the Flint community, it's just for us now in modern day, we want to bring that back. So now at this point, now we look to do the Black Business Network is a conglomerate of black business owners and entrepreneurs working together So then that way we establish our own base.
So are you going to have this online? Are you going to? How do we find it? How do we get access to it? And is it complete yet?
No, it's not. It's not complete. So
Okay.
it's in development right now.
So that's good. So people could actually still contact you and
Yeah.
get information to you.
Yes, ma'am. So currently, actually, we do have the Black Business Directory.
Okay.
So for those who have black businesses in Flint, Genesee County, we have a directory.
That's
so
current.
that's actually being built,
Okay.
right? So it gives you access and then lets everybody know what type of business you have.
I needed this
But
the
then-
other day.
Yeah, but then
The other day you were
Blackout.
right.
You were.
yeah,
there?
I was definitely representing. The thing is, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and black businesses.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know who they are. You know, and we want to make sure that we put them on the front end and everybody knows them, but then how to contact them,
Right.
what services are available. So then that way we can patronize our black
So
businesses.
what are some of the businesses that are in there? Because when we were talking the other day, we said, okay, is there a gas
Is there a
station?
gas
Is
station?
there a cleaners? Is there a
Mhm.
grocery store? I mean, those. So what's in there right now?
So since you mentioned the co-op, the black business, the grocery store, right?
Mhm.
The co-op that we're looking to do with the grocery store in the city of Flint,
Right.
they are a part of it because we know that access to food and of course us having our own grocery store is vital. It's
Right.
critical that we have that.
Exactly.
So they're a part of it. Then also I have a multimedia organization in which we do a number of different media services. We're talking about graphic design, photography, event
Mhm.
management, projects and programs for the youth, things of that nature. So we're in there. And then also you have Brother Jaleel, who is actually an electrician.
Okay.
So, you know, a lot of people have homes. We talk about
Mhm.
homes here. People need electrical work.
Mhm.
So we want to
And
make
it's
sure
good to
that-
know some because
Right.
back in the day it was Speeds.
Right.
You know, you might
Raynetta
have-
Speed, it was her dad.
Yeah, one horse in town, possibly,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly.
And so, you know, it's actually a very diverse group
Uh-huh.
with different services. That,
You have foods,
food.
restaurants, or people that, cook?
Yeah, Miss Kathy. Who
Okay.
has Healthy Food
Uh-huh.
right there on Saginaw, or down on Saginaw, downtown. She has a business
Okay.
downtown, Health Food. She's a part of it as well. So that's the food.
Okay.
Right? And then we're talking about, like you said, services. Like we talk about a number of people who have healthcare. They do the independent healthcare,
Mhm.
checking on homes and doing, in-house service. Those type of things are available as well.
So
Go ahead.
how do you get? So if I have a business,
Mhm.
right, and I
Yeah.
want to get my business in the directory,
Yes, ma'am.
who do I contact and how do I?
How do
Well,
I get you my information?
Yeah, you can contact so you can contact me. I'm also one of the coordinators for it as well. So we put out a thing on social media to kind of
Mhm.
give everybody information. We
So
have
they
like
would go
over
to
100
what page to give you?
Oh, well,
I
they
mean, it
can-
just goes out.
Yeah, so if they want
Okay.
to be a part of the directory, they
Mhm.
can contact me.
Okay.
And I can definitely put them on the list. And we are having meetings
Mm-hmm.
coming up very soon. COVID kind of threw us off a little bit.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
kinda,
threw us all off.
just
boy.
kind of navigating and had to really pick up our time
Mhm.
to meet. But we will have meetings, monthly meetings, where
Mhm.
we'll be talking about different things and activities that we like to do. We'll also be doing joint ventures together
Mm-hmm.
and looking how we can kind of invest with one another to go ahead and purchase property and these homes around here. So we look to go ahead and take this initiative much farther than just being a group of business owners, but how we can really make impact.
So let me ask you this, because what are some of the businesses that we don't have as blacks? What are some businesses,
Okay.
people are saying, okay, well, we have this, and this. Where are some areas that we're lacking?
Well, we don't have gas stations,
Mhm.
and I know.
Now, you were thinking we
I
had
thought
one,
we had
right?
one on
Flint,
Flushing
Flushing and Ballinger.
Ballinger. The day of the blackout,
Mhm.
we were all looking to
Right.
see who had what.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
good, good. Good.
and
I'm
I
glad
was-
y'all participate.
and I was on social media and
Mhm.
someone was looking for they said
A black-owned
I wasn't able to
gas
get
station.
gas. I need a black owned
Good.
gas station.
Okay.
And so there was this thread and several people said that was a black owned gas station. And I said, are you guys sure? Because
Right.
I'll start going
I don't
there.
know.
I don't know. And people
So we
said
wanna
that
know.
It was. So we were
Inquiring
wondering-
minds want to know.
So we should follow up because I didn't know.
Okay, so
Um,
find out.
Yeah. You said
And let
Flushing-
us
Flushing
find out,
Ballinger?
let us
Flushing and
know.
Right
Ballinger,
there on the corner?
Yeah,
The new
it's
gas
the
station?
new gas
Right.
station.
That's,
Yeah,
that's a nice
yeah.
gas station. I haven't
Yeah.
have yet to step in yet, but
We want to know.
If anyone
Yeah,
knows,
yeah.
let us know. You can email us
I mean-
at blackmoneymatters2
Mhm.
@gmail.com.
I mean, because we were
Of
talking
course.
about cleaners. I mean, what are
Mhm.
some other
Yeah.
businesses?
We want a bank. we want to
Right.
That-
meet.
I said,
Now
is there an
listen.
architect firm?
As it relates to the bank,
Okay.
right, we are actually connecting with the group out in Detroit.
I was gonna say out of
There's
Detroit.
a bank in Detroit, but we want to have one here in Flint.
Right.
So we want to look to see what we need to do to be able to bring one here in Flint.
Okay.
And everybody can go ahead and be a part of that bank. But you know, we can still be a part of Detroit branch too.
Right. We could start
Yeah.
there.
We can start
We could
there.
start there and
Oh, yeah.
support one
There
that's
you
not
go.
too far, but we need one in our
We
own
do.
We do.
community.
We
We
do.
do.
Because I mean, when you're trying to get loans, when you, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, we
You know, the
telling you.
barriers that are put up.
That's good.
And we said last week I can go get a loan for a car because as soon as I drive it off the lot, it deteriorates. But give me a loan for
Yeah.
to start a business.
And something
You know.
that's going to,
See, they'll
Yeah.
give you, the thing is, they'll give you money in dollars and loans for school and education, but not for business. And so those are the type of practices that we really have to go ahead and really dig deep to see
Yeah,
how
right.
do we address
We
that,
want
because
home
that's all a part of
ownership.
that structural racism.
Exactly.
Because when you talk about black people and finances and building wealth, then that kind of brings in a different type of energy, right?
That's right.
Really, they don't want to see us rise like this.
Exactly.
They want to have our own
And
foundation.
that's why we're here because
I-
we're gonna help with this.
we appreciate
We're gonna
it.
change this trajectory.
Yes, yes, and that's the thing. So, with us having a bank and us having access to those finances, to be able to get loans, to go ahead and build up these businesses, to go ahead and give out different type of opportunities, that's essential. And we actually talk about building our own chamber as well.
There-
You know, with this being
Like Chamber of Commerce.
yeah, but we
There
need
used
our
to be
own-
one.
Yeah, it
No,
was
there
in
used to
Detroit.
be one. No,
In
there was
Flint.
one in Flint called Metro Chamber of Commerce because my mother was part of it. Gene Conyers was over it.
We need to bring that
Gene
back.
Conyers was over that.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah. And okay, you know where City Hall is, and you know where the pawn shop is. Well, right to my, if I'm standing out looking at it, there was a building right there, and Metro Chamber of Commerce was upstairs in that building. Bob C. was on the board. I'm trying to remember. I think my mother-in-law was on the board, and I remember when they brought. You remember Tony Brown's Journal? No, you don't remember Tony Brown's Journal. But anyway,
Sound like it was some good stuff.
it was some good stuff, and it was a show really like this about empowerment, and Tony Brown's Journal. We sponsored people like him to come and talk and fill the places up. But there was a Metro Chamber of Commerce.
You know, yeah, that's phenomenal information. I definitely would do some
Ooh, I got
research
some
on
history.
that as well. I know, right? I
you know
right?
what? You are full of history. I thought you were going to mention when Pastor Thrifthair was
Talking
here.
about Pat.
Yeah,
I know that my dad was a pharmacist there.
Yeah.
I know.
See, no, you know
And-
what?
But you know what? I
That's
didn't
it.
know it until he was telling me about the drugstore, and I had to give someone a biography
Yeah.
of my father.
Correct.
And I'm reading, and I said, wait a minute. I said, this is the same drugstore on Industrial that Pastor Thrifthair talked about,
Exactly.
and that was where he,
Your father had worked there,
started
too.
working there. Mhm.
See, you see, it's always we are interconnected
But
somewhere.
but they got rid of. I'm trying to remember, and I can't really tell you what happened to Metro Chamber. But you know,
You
things
know,
get eaten up
Yeah.
into. Well, we're Flint Chamber, then it's Flint, Genesee. You know,
Right.
things get eaten up, and then you have no identity anymore, and then you're just a board member, and you're outnumbered, and you can't
I'm
make any
telling you.
impact and have things that impact us where we need things to impact us.
That's that. You know, just to kind of talk to that point. You know, it's good to be integrated. It's cool, right? But for us right now, we have to go ahead and position ourselves to be separate, to be dependent on each other. So then that way
But
we're
I'm
going to create
integrated,
our own.
but I don't have that. But what about a job? What about a loan?
I mean, I'm just saying.
And
What
so
about
we
being
need to
at
have
the
our
top?
own
What about
too.
these Fortune 500 companies?
Right, we said
And-
it's 4 black
Yeah.
CEOs.
And you mentioned something. We talked about this last week, and we know this that black people are the biggest consumers. We're
right.
it. We buy.
Spend
We
over $1
buy.
trillion a year.
We need to buy from each other.
And if
'Cause
we
what
bought
you-
from
what did
each
you
other,
say?
We can create wealth
That's
within
not-
our own community.
You said that too.
Yeah.
See,
But you also said we can make ourselves rich.
Oh, we can make our
But
we
the-
can
the thing
absolutely
is- the
make
thing
ourselves
for
rich.
black people, we have to get in our mindset, not to go ahead, even if it costs a couple more cents. on the
Exactly.
line. We have to
We
be in that
talked about
mindset to
that.
say like it's
It's worth
beyond
it.
the value.
Yeah.
It's-
Exactly.
I'm trying to help
I'm
you know,
trying
boost
to
up this
help.
business and be a support. So it's not about not being able to patronize it because it's a cost difference. But no, I'm doing this because I feel like I'm investing.
And it's bigger than just me.
Of course.
It's about our community.
I get
and
more
our wealth.
excited. I mean, I was telling Jimmy last week, I said I made some purchases because I was looking for some black companies
Yeah.
that sold certain products that I'm
Yeah.
not going to talk about yet.
Yeah.
But I was excited making those purchases.
And she's
I'm
still
trying to
excited.
I
I'm
see
still
that
excited. I
like
can't
Even
wait to
after
talk
that,
about this.
she's found some more
I
products.
know, and I was in the car saying, Jamaica, look at this.
Nah, I
so-
mean, it is exciting. You
It's
should be excited
exciting.
about buying from Black.
Right, it's
Mhm.
exciting.
It is
It's
exciting.
very much. I
Mhm.
always just kind of track, even going to different cities. It's like my first thing is finding a Black restaurant.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So then that way, I'm knowing I'm part of the progress. Right?
Exactly.
If I'm going to, find a store or anything that I need, personal items, right? If I'm online shopping, my first thing is always looking to see where the ownership lies.
Mhm.
But then also what type of community impact they're making. as well
Exactly.
in their business.
Exactly.
That's important.
That's important.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
important.
Mhm.
Wow.
And we talked about the creativity of Black people. So
Yeah.
what we should see more Black ownership because we are so creative. We're
We are.
creating
You
things
just
and
have
other
to have
people are taking ownership
access
of the
to
things
that
that we're
opportunity,
creating.
All
and
the
then we've
time.
got to support each other.
All the
Absolutely.
time.
You know, I said sometimes we're our own worst enemy when we say, well, you know how we are.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah.
don't shop with each other, and we
Mhm.
don't support each other, and we find a reason to put ourselves down. And that
Right.
needs to stop.
Yeah,
But like the
you
one
have
I
to do
said,
that.
we don't want to pay those extra couple cents.
And it's but you said it best. And once we realize that that we have each other's back,
Right.
and I say I'm just a part of this business, even if I'm not even on the payroll. Right?
Exactly.
It's because I come here and shop with you, bring my family here, and make sure I promote it.
Mhm.
And that's how we have to be with everything about us.
Mhm.
And it's a pride thing that we must have. That's how every other ethnic group does it. We talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, back in 1920, 21. That dollar stayed in that neighborhood.
And
over
how many
30
times?
times.
Exactly. That was
Right?
what I was going to
So
say.
you
It rolled
able-
over how
you
many
able
times?
to go ahead and spend with this person. They had a theater. They had the bank. Right? They had everything going
And
on.
it was
Everybody was in a
intentional.
concentrated area.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was.
It
It
really
very-
was.
Even how land was bought and sold.
Mhm.
That was very intentional.
Very
So
intentional.
it wasn't by chance.
Right.
We have
Yeah.
to get back to that.
And getting back to them basics, when you talk about real estate, I'm always looking, inspired by Black real estate.
Mhm.
Right? Brother Jay Morrison, he's doing
And see,
some
and that's-
phenomenal things with the real estate.
Okay.
And he's really purchasing neighborhoods, urban communities,
Uh-huh.
block by block, but revitalizing the whole community,
Okay.
putting little pocket side parks in there. Right, we can do that
can
if
do
we just
that.
all come together and say we're gonna put some money into it, we're gonna plot out a land, and we call it our own.
I like that. I like
we need,
that.
We need to bring that to fruition.
Right. Right. We've got work to do, but
Mhm.
but it's work that can be done.
Yes, ma'am.
It can be done.
Mhm.
It can be done. So
Like you said, we very creative people. We talk about our contributions to civilization since the beginning. Everything is a replica of us. Everything that this world is doing now, from everything that's going on, from the monuments to the buildings, everything came from our design, from our mindset. So what we have to do is get back into creating.
so let me ask you this: when can people expect? When do you look at the directory being
Directory?
online?
In the next couple of months, I
Okay.
know we look to kind of get started back going with it.
Okay.
So the next couple of months we'll have it. It'll be online.
I have some information to get to you.
Yeah, if anybody has any businesses or anything want to be a part of it,
Okay.
we'll kind of do a big coming out type of situation. But we encourage all of our entrepreneurs and Black owners to be a part of this. We have a magazine that come out with it as well. So we'll continue to keep pumping this information out, but then also we'll come up and show up for it.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
So I have a question. So if someone who's watching right now,
Yes.
so let's say for instance they're running a business and maybe they can't for whatever reason go to different meetings and things like that, but they're a Black owned business and they want to be in the directory. How does that go? Can you give us a phone number or an email address that they can contact directly, and is there a cost to being included in the directory?
Yeah, so right now it's free of charge for all
Okay.
businesses.
Currently, it's
Right.
free. Okay.
And if they do want to call and contact, I know we're setting up the all the internal control systems, so
Okay.
the emails, the numbers.
Okay.
But for now, I can give out my information and then definitely get them connected and invite them to the meeting, and then we can definitely kind of give them the steps and processes afterwards.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So, and what? So, do you have that email or something that you can give out today, like, or do you want?
Is it something we can put up on our page?
On our
If you can get us
page?
How
the
about we do that?
information?
Yeah.
Okay.
How
Okay,
about
and we'll
get
put that
and
information
put it
up.
Okay.
That would be
Okay.
great.
So stay tuned for that. If you're a Black business owner and you want to be listed in the directory, just continue to follow us on our Facebook page, and we'll put that information out. And our Facebook page is Black Money Matters, and we'll put that information out.
Yeah, that'll be really good.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be really
Yeah.
good. And really, thank you for putting that together because it is needed. We
is.
said, okay, we wanted to order some food. Well, you know, a lot of places were closed that day.
Well, we were thinking they were
What was
closed.
going, something.
We were getting, I think because it was blackout day, we were trying to order from one of the
And one of the
restaurants
places
and-
wasn't open.
right, and one had
Okay.
a
and
busy
coronavirus. I
signal,
mean, it's just
yeah.
so much going
You
on
got
right
Yeah.
now.
Mr. King is also a part of it.
I know.
as well.
Oh, he's part of because
yeah,
okay.
That's our go-to guy when we talk
Okay.
about
Okay.
using his banquet hall.
Oh yeah.
We bring our youngsters
We go there
in
frequently.
from our mentees, to be able to go ahead and state, however we can help support him. He's also been providing different meals for our different younger groups. So,
Okay.
we appreciate him. Then also you got a number of boutiques and barbershop owners who are kind of doing things all around Flint. So this is just a unified effort.
You know, I have to laugh. I think about the last time we went to King's, and kind of what Pastor Threadcare was talking about, the one restaurant, what did he call it? The Chitlin?
Oh yeah.
So I remember the
Chitlin.
last time we went to King's, I'm
Oh, he
always,
has some chitlins.
yes, and as soon as I walk through the door, that's my first question. Are there chitlins today?
Girl, you better stop.
No, I'm not.
She did. She said, "Ooh,
Hey, what?
Yes.
I think he
can't
just
stand
does
them
them on
things.
Sunday, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He just does them Sunday. I
I
don't
do.
know.
I love them.
Really?
Yes.
My uncle
And I
Ed
am
used
not
to
gonna
make that stuff, and
apologize.
She said unapologetically. I love him.
I couldn't get past the smell.
They don't, when they clean right,
So you know what? Okay, now we have gone all the way down another path. We're up here talking about Black Money Matters and economic
Black
empowerment, and now we have do you eat chitlins or not? How does that go?
And that's a whole
That's
debate.
gonna be a whole different show. That will be a whole different show.
Please don't.
But we do support him. But we were looking that day because blackout was going on, and we
Yeah.
were looking.
There you go.
And
Got chips as well.
And wood.
and so we
Wood.
need right. I think that was where we
We
ended
ended
up.
up eating at
Oh, yeah.
Woods that day.
Good
Yeah.
choice.
And that's where the food. That was a good choice.
One of the best choices.
And yeah, we ate that day.
We ate.
That was good. But it was
Yeah.
nice to support our own.
Come on
In fact,
now.
That was the day
But
we had.
was-
Who were we having lunch with that day?
Being crump.
Oh yeah,
That was the day we had
it
Big
is.
Crump.
Man, that was a
Being
good
crump. That's
fish.
where the food
That
came
was a
from.
good
Woods.
fish. It sure was.
Mm-hmm.
There's another spot on Richfield Road that we wanted to go
Oh
to, but we didn't get
yeah.
a chance.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
They had some
Red,
really
is it Robin?
Robin's
Yeah.
Nest.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
That's
they're-
right.
They're
Mhm.
really good.
Yeah,
They have
yeah,
the
yeah.
whole
Right.
catfish. Yeah,
Right.
they're
Yes,
really good.
yes.
So yeah, and that's what we need to just know more about those kinds
There you
of
go.
things.
That's all.
And so we're looking to you to finish pulling that together
Yeah.
and getting that
Yeah.
information to us so we can promote it because people need to know. People want to know.
Yeah.
That's
They
the good
do.
thing is people want to
People want
know.
to know.
Because that's how this whole started. Just wanting to know where was the black businesses.
Right.
And a couple months earlier this year, we were putting a poll out to see where they were.
Okay.
And then we were able to combine a list. And like I said, it was over 100 businesses that we had.
I mean, because you think about it.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how I thought of cars,
Mhm.
but you used to have. Oh, bless you.
Yes.
Little dusty. That's it.
Who was it that had
Your
the
man.
car
That's
dealer?
it.
He's talking about little Dusty.
You have to explain these days.
Look, she's been roller skating. Where did
Right.
Pastor Threadcare say
Right.
the Dust Bowl? Jamaica's
Is it-
been roller skating at the
Let
Dust
me-
Bowl.
You have to
now.
explain
Let me-
these days.
let me-
You
let
gotta
me scoot
stop
to 10 feet
talking.
now.
We're, now don't come too close to me. 'Cause I'm gonna move over some more.
We're
But
properly social.
Let me-
We made
Get out the
sure.
way for me.
So yeah.
I was thinking about Al Bennett. Remember when he used to
Oh, I
have
remember, yeah.
the car
Yeah.
dealership?
Well,
Oh yeah.
Clio Road.
And
Mhm.
I can't
Come on
remember the
now,
guy's
yeah.
name that was in Detroit. Oh,
Mel Farr?
Mel Farr,
Come on, he was-
superstar.
Yeah, he was a giant. He
That's
was a
right. I mean, we
millionaire.
used to have, you know, and
Yeah.
do we have any
Black-owned
black
car
car
dealers.
dealerships?
No, we
No.
don't.
You know, not here.
Not that I know.
I mean, you just think about that.
You're absolutely
You
right.
think about that. when
Mechanic
you-
shops, right?
Exactly.
The brother, McGee.
Mhm.
He has the auto
On
shop.
Saginaw.
On
Yes, he
Saginaw
does.
Street,
Yes, he does.
exactly.
Yes, he does.
But we just, I don't know. That's information.
But maybe we
that-
should be writing these ideas down because we have
Oh, so now,
much
now he's
talent.
telling me to take
Yeah.
notes.
I mean, some of the things where we filling in the gaps at,
Mhm.
we can identify what we need
Right.
Mhm.
and kind of build out, getting those areas.
Because who can do that kind of work that
That's
we
right.
can connect with
There you go.
with the black-owned bank and get them funding to be
That's
able
right.
to
There
legitimize
you
what
go.
they doing at home anyway.
They doing it anyway.
Right.
You know, we got a bunch of guys who's going to buy these cars at the car dealership and the lots,
Mm-hmm.
the auction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's me.
Bless him.
It's, it's contagious. but
Nah.
No, it's not.
It's a little dusty.
Yeah.
And you've all been at the Dust Bowl then.
I've been roller skating.
You've been
Man
roller
Man
skating,
said she gonna
Juwan?
stay on that end of it.
Right. But we have a lot of people who are doing this work.
Okay.
They may not have their LLCs or their business set up, the structure, anything, but they're doing this work. So we can find a way, even through the director or through the network, to legitimize them as well, right? Giving the paperwork, filing to the state, making sure they get the EIN numbers, open the bank accounts, and make sure that they have this business.
Okay.
That back end,
And
that back
help
office
them with
type
that.
All the
of
back
stuff.
office,
Make
but then
sure-
also they're solidified as a business in the Genesee County.
Okay. Well, that'll be
So it's
good.
an educational piece too as well. So utilizing some of our seasoned entrepreneurs and owners to help some of the younger people out and kind of build somewhat of an accelerator. You see. So those are the things that we need. All they need is the opportunity. All they need sometimes is
Right.
somebody to kind of show them the way.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
they'll be the next Mel Farr. They'll be the next
Al
Mr. McGee, right?
Whoever.
Whoever.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Whoever.
And
then
that's what we want.
right.
We want to encourage that.
And create some spaces too.
Great
I mean,
space.
Right.
Really
You know.
big on purchasing property.
Mhm.
We should really look like what buildings. We have a number of different buildings around here, but we should kind of look at what we can do together.
And you know those other things like so now that you're creating jobs,
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
creating those avenues for home ownership. You talked about student loan debt, so
Mhm.
so creating environments that we don't always have to go borrow money to go to school. You know, we have that wealth within our household and within our community.
Well, that's what
that
the
we can
numbers
send
man
people
used to help
school.
with.
He was a champion in
And,
that.
and, and so I really get offended when I hear people
I do too.
demonize them and talk about them
Right.
negatively
Right.
when they help so many of us. I think that's
Right.
terrible.
All they did. That was
Especially
another.
when now
That
you
was
see
another.
the state says, ooh, how,
Let
how
us
much
be
is the
number man,
Powerball? How
right.
much is Mega?
That's where
and
another
they're
black
not helping.
invention
Right,
that was helping
exactly.
in the
That
neighborhood
was-
and the community, and what they saw the benefits to
They,
it.
well, I mean, we touched on it a little bit when we talked about marijuana.
Same day.
You know,
Same day.
we're all locked up, and now we can't even afford to buy a license.
Right. And
You
we're
know,
not-
they're so the
Right.
cost is so prohibitive.
Yeah, you have to have so many dollars and things, and assets,
Exactly.
to be able to go ahead
And
open up a
turn
dispensary
in all these papers and
and a license, and they're only giving them to people that they deem necessary. Right?
Exactly.
So even if you have all your ducks in a row, you may not get
You
one.
may not
You
get
may
a
not
license.
get
And
one.
it's not going to be a lot of us that are going to get them, regardless of what the paperwork looks like.
It's never us. I know one black owner with a dispensary, and it was so hard for him to get that, and they still trying to knock him out. I was actually in LA with Rick Ross, and Rick
Okay.
Ross has got a social equity program,
Okay.
so he actually has a license.
When's he coming back? We'll
He'll
have
be
to have
back
him.
soon.
We'll have to have him
Let's
on.
let's do that. Let's do
We'll
that.
have to have him on.
Let's
You
do
know,
it.
with scheduling things.
Let's do
That
it.
would be a good one.
That'd be fun. He been
You're gonna have
looking
to
for
see some of the things we have in store. We have some good shows.
This is
I want to give a big shout out to you too, as well. This Black Money Matters. That means a lot, when you talk about finances and money and funding, right? And then just having a talk show to have these conversations with people who are in that field, who are trying to kind of find ways to generate some dollars, and just having discussions on ways to go ahead and improve stuff in the neighborhood. So
Wow.
Kudos.
Y- Thank you.
Thank
They-
you.
you know what? And we got the signal. We're
Yeah.
about out of time. I mean, this goes really, really fast.
Mhm.
We are at the end of our show, but we want to thank you.
Thank
No
you
And
so
we'll be
much.
getting that information on our website. And remember, Black money matters.
See you next week.
Thank you.